Hi and welcome to Hedgehog Hollow, here with Little Darlings rubber stamps for our final tutorial of 2017. I'm going to be using the new Kuretake gem colours to create some gorgeous backgrounds, and then the LDRS dies to create these lovely inlaid designs with snowflakes and some of the new holly wreath dies as well. So let's get started. So first of all, I have a piece of watercolour paper that I have taped down onto a gesso board. We're using the new Kuretake gem colours. They're brand new and they're absolutely gorgeous. I'm using some frog tape to tape it down on the side. I've got my Rinse Well up there, which is one of the best tools. It was in my gift guide, which I'll link up for you as well. Now you'll see I spritzed with my Distress sprayer the watercolour paper and my paints as well. The reason is I want a wet on wet technique. I did find though that spritzing my paints, which was a tip one of you recommended to me, just wasn't enough on this occasion. I will try it out another time, but I just went back to using my dropper, which you've seen me do before. Now the Rinse Well, which you see in that top right, which I referred to earlier, is a great tool. It allows you to clean your brushes, and then it has a little plunger that cleans the water out as well. I'm using a number 14 Prima brush, which again was one of my gift guide picks. Love these brushes, super pretty, rose gold details, and also a gorgeous case that you can get for them to come in. Plus they all have these lovely pretty color handles, and they're a great quality brush as well. So you'll notice that I'm adding some colors. I started with purple, then I moved on to the pink, and now I'm going to the blue, and I'm adding it in stripes like this to create a nice background. Now I'm working here, you can see kind of in like squiggles, almost like waves. I want that because it allows the colours to blend nicely together, and I know these colours aren't going to go all muddy because pink and blue do make purple, so they're a great trio to work with. Now this is a bit of an iterative process, so I'm using my Wagner heat tool here to dry off my first layer, and you'll see it's not that intense. Because I like to work this way, it allows me to add colour as much as I like. It allows me to have a nice amount of control in there as well. So again, I'm working in those waves. You can see on there how that colour is really starting to build up. If you need more water, you could then spritz with your Distress refresher, and that would help you mix those colours together again. Or you can just work with a very wet brush, which is what I was doing here. So I'm just testing there, you can see, to see whether it's dry or not. And you'll have noticed that I've moved here from the purple tape that you often see me use to the green frog tape. Now that was actually a recommendation from my painter decorator. He was watching me one day do some watercolor, and I was struggling a little bit with the purple tape. I was using lots of water, and you'll see at the end when I peel it back, this one is waterproof, which is something he told me. It resists the water much better. I found working with heat and then water, it seems to stay there. I still love my purple tape and I use it all the time because it's got a nice low tack. It doesn't leave any marks. But when I'm working with something super wet, I've moved to using this frog tape. I'll link it up underneath the video for you. But it does seem to hold up really nicely. And so you can see that I've added a few different layers, and I'm ready now to clear up. You can see I just use my stamp chamois all the time. And there you go, I'm peeling it back, and you can see I've got very little bleeding around the edges. So I'm super pleased. Thank you, Matt, for your recommendation there. And so I'm just, again, dry it on the top side, and then I'm going to dry it on the bottom side. And you'll see I made a little bit of an error. It wasn't quite dry on the top. And I'm working on a gesso board. Again, I'll link that up for you too. You'll see there that little piece that wasn't quite right. So I'm just going to grab my paintbrush and touch that bit in, and then try again and just dry that off. So you can do that if that happens to you. Just touch it in. You're not going to have any issues with that either. And so once it's all dry, we are ready to move on to our die cutting. So I'm using this holly wreath die, and I'm going to cut it directly on my watercolor cardstock. It'll cut through perfectly. Thanks mainly to some great dies from LDRS, but also you'll see that they're all coloured. That's not just to make them look pretty, it's also to help you release. Now I also cut one out of some white glitter cardstock, and you'll see there on the right I have two cut out of white cardstock. I actually changed my mind and made this into a silver matte later on. So if you're looking to copy mine, then go with the silver matte rather than the white. I'm using some temporary adhesive on there, and I'm putting the two die cuts, the watercolor paper and the glitter cardstock together, and this is going to help me to get that perfect inlay. And for that, I'm using the snowflake border, which is called Snowy Day. And you're going to then take out just the snowflake piece. You'll see there's 2 dies in there, one for a complete edge and one just to cut your snowflakes. And that's in the pretty pink, again, to help you release such a detailed die. You'll see how easy that is when I've got my die cuts. So I'm going to now use some of my favorite tape for sticking down. That yellow tape doesn't cause any issues at all. And you can see there, I've got the 2 perfect halves, and they're going to be the same size as that holly wreath, which is why you want to cut them together, and it will cut through both of those layers at once for you really nicely. I use a Vagabond to do this, and there you can now see our nice matte silver. That's a tonic matte silver, or satin silver, I think they call it. Now I'm applying some adhesive on the back. I've got a little mat to the side that I was doing it on. And I'm using what I would call a Pritt stick. In America, they're an Elmer's stick. I like that for an all-over glue stick. I'd also recommend the tonic glue stick. I often use that as well. Now you can see how pretty just half of that looks. Super, super pretty. You could just leave it there. But I like the extra touch that the watercolor background adds on there. I feel it adds a really nice, cool touch. And you can still see that satin silver through the middle there as well. And as I say, by cutting them together, you'll notice how they line up perfectly, and you have those 2 halves in there too. So you want to do this to both of your die cuts, and you can see me doing it to them there. And of course, you'll have perfect opposites. So if you're sending it maybe to a husband and wife, you maybe have 2 gifts, they're going to coordinate perfectly. Or of course, you could just separate them up and nobody would know the difference. But I like things that coordinate together, and having a theme for my gift wrap, which I've discussed in previous videos. So there's our 2 finished tags. Don't they look absolutely gorgeous? You'll also notice in these pictures, I punched a hole at the top and I put some metallic thread through it. It's actually a thread that I use for my spinning, but it's just a metallic embroidery thread, and that will also work really well for you. You could put some ribbon through, depending what you wanted to do. I absolutely love these new gem watercolors as well. Thanks so much for joining me here throughout 2017 with Little Darlings rubber stamps. I can't wait to show you the new releases we have for Creativation, and I will see you again in 2018. Happy stamping, have a very Merry Christmas. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for our channels, and I will see you again next year. Bye.